being comfortable is just that is not for me.
Really?
Yeah, man. I like being like a bit like unsure, and just if there's something behind that door, I'll be like, I need to see what's behind that door, man, because it could be amazing. That's exciting to me.
Hey, it's Jake here from the High Performance Podcast. I want to start by saying big thanks to all of our new subscribers. This channel is growing like crazy, but most people that watch these videos on YouTube don't subscribe, and it's so important to us. If you can just hit the subscribe button, it grows our channel. The bigger the channel grows, the greater the names we can attract. The greater the names, the more important the conversations, and the more impact we can have on your life. So please, before you watch this video, just hit subscribe right now. It's a game changer for us. It's also fantastic for you. But right now, enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
We're really well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here. Big fan of the podcast. So yeah, buzzing that I'm on.
Brilliant. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we always start with this question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your definition of high performance?
I think my brain would go to being an athlete, mentally, physically, and when I say mentally, it's being able to put yourself in a position where you're going, I'm going to set the goal of being the best person I need to be today, tomorrow, and so on. And physically, like, I'm a musician, and I've just got off tour, and it was the best tour I've ever done because I'm so fit physically and mentally. And high performance is being able to do your job or do life at 100% every day. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. It's great.
You see, this is so good for us because if we've got one job, it's to help people find that extra 1% to get to their own true potential. And doing it physically and mentally are actually the only two things that really matter. So I'm fascinated to find out how you've got to this point.
Yeah.
If we wind the clock back to a 10-year-old Tom kicking a football in the back garden with dreams of being a professional footballer.
Yeah.
What happened between then and here that means you're now doing a totally different career, living a totally different life?
Yeah.
But that elite mindset remains.
I think I always had a little voice in my head that said I could do whatever I wanted to do if I put everything into it. Football was obviously the dream, but I realised when I was about 15, 16 that I wasn't good enough to get to the next level. But I was the person who was stopping me from getting to that next level because I don't think I was confident enough with my ability of playing football. In the change room, I wasn't confident enough. And then when I'd see people who were coming from other academies, or I'm playing against other people in different football teams, and I was like, he's better than me, I'd lose my head. And I think at that age, my attitude wasn't the best. I was like, do you know what? I had enough anyway. I'm throwing my toys out of the pram and just be like, nah, I've had enough. And then I'd be in the car with my dad and be like, nah, I'm done with football, can't do it. So I always had this little voice in my head, and I was like, right, what am I going to do now that I'm not playing football? And I loved being able to get people's attention. I've always been somebody who, I don't know whether I've probably craved attention. I have. And I don't know why, because I've always been like my mum and dad and my brother. There's not that some people crave attention because in the household there's not that. But I've always loved being centre for attention. So I was like, how do I do that? And I loved acting, and I loved like creating a character. If I was in class or whatever, I'd always like love to just be a bit of an idiot. So I was like, I'm going to try acting, and I did, and I was pretty good at it. So I like auditioned for like different things in London, and I got into like National Youth Theatre, and I did that, and I was like, okay, cool, I can do the acting thing. And it wasn't until I went to like a party where there was a karaoke like machine, and everybody was like jumping up on the mic, and I'd never sung in front of anybody, and also I'd never sung in front of myself. I didn't even know I could sing.
But surely you sung like and thought, oh, that sounds all right.
Nah, not really. Like I'd maybe like hum a tune, and I knew that I could hold a note maybe, but I never like thought I'm going to be a singer, and I never thought I'm going to try singing. And then anyway, I got on this karaoke thing, and I did, and everybody went like that kind of thing, and I saw that reaction, which I loved, and I saw I could please people, and I saw I could get everybody's attention, and I was like, okay, cool, I like this singing thing. Got the bug for it, and then there was boys in the music scene in school that would had a band, and they were like, do you want to join this band? I was like, yeah, go on, then I'll give it a go. Gave it a go, and we did our first gig kind of thing in school, like in A levels, and I did it. And again, there was like an audience, and I was like, I saw people's faces. Like, right, that's what I'm gonna do. But all them boys, we started this band, and all them boys went to uni to like do maths and science, and I was like, what? We've got this amazing band, but we weren't amazing. We were pretty shit, and they went to uni. I was like, right, well, I need to get out of Bedford. And something happened to me where I was attacked, and my jaw had got broken, and it just mentally like flipped me upside down, and I was like, I need to get out of Bedford, because being in Bedford gives me anxiety. I can't like leave the house without feeling like somebody's gonna do something or whatnot. But I know that I want to be a singer, but I can't study music, because if I study something, I'll lose interest in it. I need to do this on my own, but I'll go and do acting. So I applied for like different drama schools and whatnot, and ended up going to St Mary's in Twickenham to study physical theatre, and loved it. And it gave me like, I don't know, the confidence in being a showman, but also gave me the time to really knuckle down and teach myself how to play guitar. So I bought a guitar at uni, hibernated for a year, didn't really do the freshers thing, didn't go out much, just hibernated and learned how to play guitar, couple chords, and then started writing. And I didn't really realise I was writing songs beforehand, but because going back to when I got jumped and stuff, the only way I could really communicate with my mum and dad of how I was feeling, or to anybody else, was to write about it. So then I went back to this little like notepad, and I realised that these things that I'd been writing were actually like song lyrics. So I took this book, and I was like, let's put these into it, and then had about 6 or 7 songs, and I just gigged them around London. And then luckily enough, there was like a guy from Sony who was having a beer, and it was Restless History from there, really.
Bloody hell, what a tale.
Yeah. That's the end of the episode. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
What a story, though. There's so much to go out there for us.
I mean, yeah, there's so much I want to unpick that, as you tell it. What really intrigues me there is that experience of being 15, and you describe all like your inner voice being castigating to you about you're not good enough, they're better than you in that football dressing room.
Yeah.
And yet then when somebody says, do you fancy like joining our band? What had happened to quieten that inner voice that was so harsh to you in a football environment that turned itself off to give you the confidence to go and have a go at leading a band?
I think I was so annoyed at myself for listening to this little other voice who was saying I wasn't good enough, that I thought to myself, I'm gonna be spontaneous, and I'm also gonna just throw myself into something that I never thought I'd ever do, and see if I could swim. And at first I was like trying to swim, and and I ended up being able to swim in it, and I thought, this is wicked. And I've also flipped the thought. Like, I do a lot of therapy now still, and I have this thing of flipping a thought, which really, really helps me in my day-to-day life anyway.
Go on, explain what you mean by that.
So if I have something that's giving me anxiety, say if I'm like, I can't do this, or I feel like I'm sinking inside or something like that, I'll be like, nah, I'm not. I'm actually floating. And then that makes it a positive thing straight away. And it changes the way your thought, and it also it changes what that little voice inside your head is saying. So you're kind of like shouting at that other voice saying, nah, mate, that's not what I want to do. I want to do that. And then you're actually doing it.
See, I love this, because this is where people get high performance wrong. Mm-hmm. I always know if people don't listen to this podcast because they say to me, oh, your podcast is just about successful people telling us how great they are. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you've obviously not listened, right? Because actually high performance is not those great moments. It isn't standing on stage in front of thousands of people. It isn't your record going to #1. It isn't the latest check coming through the post, right? Mm-hmm. High performance is dealing with the challenge, dealing with the negativity, dealing with the mental health challenges. You know, we often say on this podcast, we need to learn to use anxiety and fear as a throttle, not a brake. Mm-hmm. So it's exactly what you've just described. It's flipping the thought. So if you're worrying about your latest album, well, it becomes a throttle. So you go, right, well, I'm going to work so hard and dedicate myself so much and be so in that album that I make it work. It's the same as imposter syndrome. We can talk about that. Yeah. What's imposter syndrome? It's caring so deeply about something and wanting it so badly that you start to doubt yourself. What's envy? It's seeing what someone else has got and wanting what they've got. Yeah. Is that a bad thing? Or is that a North Star for your whole life? Is that a direction you should be going in? Mm-hmm. Flipping a thought, reframing a thought, seeing imposter syndrome, envy, fear, anxiety, nerves, worry, turning those into positives is, as you are testament to, can just change the game.
100%. And your body doesn't know what the difference between anxiety and excitement is.
Society's told us it's a bad thing.
Yeah. So like that butterfly feeling, which is anxiety apparently, or excitement, is enjoy that feeling and let that feeling be, because it's a natural feeling. It's like, you know, like cavemen. It's like that, you know, like that natural instinct of doing something. That caveman thing inside you is going, I'm going to fight this, I don't know, tusked elephant, and like it's going to be scary, but also if you win and get that elephant or whatever it was back in the cavemen days, then it's going to be unbelievable. So don't be afraid to do something that's scary.
Where's the thrill without the challenge?
Exactly.
You know? I mean, we all love football, right?
Yeah.
If Manchester United beat a non-league team 5-0, they don't celebrate. They walk off the pitch and think, oh, we could have scored 7.
Yeah.
If they draw 1-1 with Manchester City, they walk in the dressing room and think, fantastic. Well, only one of those is a victory, but it's the challenge in front of you.
Yeah.
So can we rewind a bit to the football thing? Because I think there's a real thread here. Mm-hmm. You obviously had to walk away from that.
Yeah.
So what would you tell our listeners about having the bravery to walk away from something that for so long you've wanted?
I would say if you are walking away from something that you really, really want, life is a thing that is unpredictable, and things will be around the corner that you'll be like, wow, I never thought I would be in this position now. So if one thing doesn't work, then have more dreams than just that one dream. But if your dream is that one thing, then do everything you can to get it.
Was it scary then to stop the football?
I don't really think I thought about it as much as, like, I didn't really like sit down and like go, right, I need to finish football. And I just was like, this chapter of my life is over, and I still love playing, but I just won't be getting to or going to where I thought I would. But I don't know if it was scary. Do I regret it? And obviously not. Would I have loved to play an FA Cup final, obviously. But
I was thinking about you, Tom, when we knew we were going to meet today, and I was reminded of a brilliant book called Forever Young by Oliver Kay that wrote about a young lad at Manchester United called Adrian Doherty,
right,
that was seen as like a peer of Ryan Giggs, seen as an equal talent.
mm-hmm.
But he had like a real creative bent. He was a musician
Mm-hmm.
that used to go off and busk in Manchester city centre after playing for the youth team, and was seen as a real rising star. And it was only like a bad knee injury that ended his career.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was that he was a guy that was seen as very different within that academy system, and he was bullied, he was made to feel ridiculous and silly. And I'm interested in how you dealt with conformity in that kind of environment of you. Obviously somebody that was creative and like being the centre of attention.
Yeah.
What lessons have you got for listeners on how to stand out while still fitting in?
I think being able to just really be comfortable with who you are and not worrying about what others think about you, and being able to really say, yeah, this is who I am and I'm going to stand by that. Like, I remember I've always been, again, this kid in school who would love to push a few boundaries and push a few buttons in and about like my class, like, and around my mates. And I remember coming in to school once with like a pair of Ugg boots on, and it's not a big deal, but back then coming into school with an Ugg boot on was like you were wearing some crazy thing. And I remember getting so much stick for it, but going, don't worry about it, because you'll be wearing this in the next couple of years. And then they did. And I feel like for me that's always been the thing of like, I'll back myself, and the listeners, whoever's listening to this, if you're feeling like you are different or you can do something different, then don't be worried about what your mates are going to say or what other people are going to say, because your world is your world, and let other people enter it.
Break that down into detail for us in terms of, because that advice of be yourself, follow your heart is great advice, but I think people need to know how do I do that?
Yeah.
So what sort of tips would you get of still being true to yourself, and how do you handle it when people are taking the piss out of you or laughing at it?
I laugh at it. I don't let it eat and manifest in me. I don't let that. I put like I put a shield up. Like, you can fire whatever you want at me, but it'll bounce off. And again, my world is my world, and how I live it is my choice. And I don't feel like I need to please. I don't feel like I need to be anybody else for anybody. Like, if you love me, then you'll love me for who I am, and that's it. And I've really had to like understand that, and I've really had to understand about other people as well. Like, my mum said something to me that people aren't meant to be in your life forever, like I thought, and some people are. Like, I thought I had a best friend. I thought we'd be like brothers for life, and there was a moment that happened, and like we had to separate, we had to go our different ways, and that's because he was bad for me, and I was probably not great for him, and there's nothing bad about that, but understanding that, like, people aren't meant to be in your life forever, and also being able to just say, you didn't love me for who I am, and that's unfortunate for you.
I'm actually quite jealous that you're able to get to that place, because I don't know how you do it in the modern world with social media and everyone being able to pass opinion on you, and you can like trend on Twitter for like having a microphone right like this. I mean, this is almost like a weapon of mass destruction. I've seen people with 50-year-long careers end it with one tweet, one comment, one misplaced thought or whatever. I think in the modern world, it's so difficult to feel insulated against, you know, the cancel culture or criticism or negativity or the jealousy that exists out there.
Yeah.
So do you just not engage with that stuff? Do you ever type Tom Grennan into Twitter and see what's been written? Would you ever do any of that?
Nah, no way. I would, that makes me cringe to even think I'd ever do that.
Because you just don't care what people think?
No, I think, obviously, like, every human being has they do care, and everybody will care what somebody thinks of them. But it's being able to really just say, whoever's got silly things to say about me is unnecessary to my life, innit? I've got great friends and I've got an amazing family, and their opinions are what matter to me the most. But if you're being nice and you got something nice to say about me, then I'll take it in and I'll let that change, or not change, but I'll let that like have a place in my heart or wherever it might sit inside me. But yeah, I don't need and I don't look at negative things. And if I do see negative things, then I'll either laugh it off, or I will like say, are they right or are they wrong? And 100% they're usually wrong because they don't know me.
Because that technique you said about flipping the narrative reminds me of, there's a guy called Ben Zander who is the head of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, and he talks about how he uses the F word when things go wrong, that rather than the traditional F word we assume, he responds to it by saying fascinating. And that's his F word, that then it leads him to explore it of, well, why do you mean that? Why are you saying it? So when you do experience some negative feedback, whether this is from your inner circle who matter, or even if you catch it from outside, how do you flip that switch to be able to? If
someone says, Tom, you look or you sound or you are this or that, I'd be like, I would say, no, I'm not, and that makes me go, nah, no, I'm not. That's sweet.
Brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? Or I get a lot of stick for like the things I wear, from online, because I do wear some mad things, but I like that, and I go, yeah, but I like it, and I love what it's doing. But not only that, this is what I want people to do. I'm causing you to go, hold on a minute, what's that? So I've got your attention, and again, I go back to what I was saying earlier. I've always been that guy who wants somebody to go, oh, he looks a bit mad. I don't know why, but when people look at me or when people go, I'm like, yeah, he knows. Do you know what I mean? But that is probably a little bit of my silly ego, but I enjoy it.
See, I think ego can do a lot in this sort of situation. You know, you're a music artist, right? So there's a place for it, and we'll talk about that. But you also can't discount hard work, determination, resilience, that real deep desire to be successful. You speak about, stopping football, starting in a band, coming to London, gigging in pubs, and then I met someone from Sony, right? That is like, oh, it was all so easy. I played a bit of music and now I'm a music artist. Let's tell the truth about the hard work, the mindset, that's sort of like, when I talk about that fire that's like deep inside you. Take us back to that young Tom first coming to London, starting to do the music thing, and not just wanting to play music, but wanting to be like a successful musician.
So going back to the band thing, I remember doing the band, and then I had a lot of mates in school who then would take the piss out of it. Be like, what are you doing? Like, who do you think you are? Some of the band members were like, why are you thinking that you can do this, do that? And I'm like, all right then, cool. And I fell out of a lot of people, and I didn't speak to them because I saw the jealousy just soaking out of them. And I was like, nah, I can do what I want to do, and I'll do it. Watch me, I'm going to do it. And I've always had this thing of, I will remember the people who said I couldn't do it, yeah, and I always love seeing them now, and even if they don't speak to me, I know that they know what I'm doing. So that young guy there who was in that band and still in school was said to himself, right, this is going to be a tough challenge. This is like winning the lottery, and a lot of people try and do this for all their lives and don't get anywhere with it. But if I put everything into it, not only just hard work, I'm talking manifest this thing, talk to the walls about it, talk to like every inch of the room about it, then I'll do that. And
explain that to us. Like this, there'll be people listening to this.
Yeah,
they need to understand the depth. No one talks about the depths of the hard work and the effort that goes into a career like yours.
I think when I say manifest and talking to I'm eating it, I'm sleeping it, and I'm like, I didn't have to play guitar, for example. I've got to have 8 hours a day on the guitar, and even if I'm on that one note for one day, just learning how to move about that one note, then I'll do that, and I'll really knuckle down and do that. So I'd go to bed thinking about how I'm gonna go get my next gig, and that next gig was knocking on people's doors and saying, can I play here? Nah, you can't. All right, cool. Can I play here tomorrow? All right, cool. You can play here, but for no money. Sweet, I don't want money. All right, cool. How long can you do? I can do however long you want me to do. Always being polite, always being like a nice guy, because that's who I am anyway. But like, I feel like if people can see the determination and the hunger you have, it also makes the other person hungry. It's like it catches fire. So if someone sees you going, I'm going to put this gig on in your pub and it's going to be unbelievable, I'm going to get 100 people down here. They're like, well, 100 people? No, you won't. I'm telling you. And then there's 150 people. Do you know what I mean? How? By just going to people at uni going, oh, yeah, I've got this gig, yeah. It's going to be £3 to get in, and it'll be so good. And just hyping it up that much to people at uni, word of mouth. And then people are coming, and then you're creating this like fire, and people then are going talking about it. And I didn't really know about like YouTube or anything like that, and I was like, I don't want to be that YouTube guy, but I need videos out there. And I made this little video with my friend, and he was like, let's put it out, and we did. And then people at uni who didn't come to the gig would then see this video, because I posted it on like the uni page, and then they then shared that out, and it was just being able to create moments that people wanted. I think, I don't really know. It's crazy.
So when you're going knocking on doors and asking for a gig, or you're going up to strangers in a bar and trying to persuade them to come,
yeah,
I'm interested in how much was it a desire to create moments that matter and to fulfill this dream of being the centre of attention, and how much of it was proving those naysayers from back home?
All of it. I think I still have that fire of proving them people wrong now.
So which is more powerful for you, Tom?
The proving the wrong, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. I love the thought of people going, oh, he did do it. I love that thought of people going, I didn't want it to happen for him, but it has happened for him. Fair play. I think that gives me the drive to just, I don't know, I want to be the best. I want to be like, I'm competitive. I love knowing that I'm gonna win. And if I don't win it, it fucking annoys me.
Well, that reminds But then that reminds me, I did a book many years ago about a great boxer called Marvin Hagler, who revelled in being the underdog. He loved the idea of being the one that...
But I am the underdog. I still feel like the underdog.
But what he would do was he would keep moving his status. So even when he became the champion, he would then make himself the underdog against other guys that were in his world. So it wasn't always about fighting the ones that he'd grown up with. He became a now need to prove these guys wrong, and it was somebody else.
Definitely.
So how do you keep moving the target so that you keep being the underdog even when you're getting more and more successful? And
I'm not at the best of my... Everybody says, like, what? Like, have you made it yet? I'm like, no, mate. I've not made anything. I'm happy. I'm so happy. And success is also about being happy and being able to move like with happiness. Yeah. But I've not made anything, and I've not got to where I want to be.
Are you fulfilled?
Nah, I'm not. That's the word I was looking for. Fulfilled. I'm not fulfilled at all in my career-wise. Like, things are going great, and I'm so happy that people are listening to the music, and I'd be lying if I go, yeah, but the music is in people's lives and they're enjoying it. I want it to be in everybody's lives, because I don't know, I feel like I've got a story to tell, and I feel like I can help people out, and things are going great at the moment, but there's people out there who are doing better.
What about, though, if I told you that this was it? Not in a negative way.
Yeah.
So Johnny Wilkinson came on this podcast, right? He spent 20 years trying to be the best rugby player in the world. He won the Rugby World Cup with that famous kick.
Yeah.
He felt elated for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, the truth is there will always be something. Partly because you're creating it, because obviously the underdog feeling works for you, but also that's just life. There will be a global megastar somewhere
Exactly
at all times, right?
Yeah.
So haven't you got a job to do where you have to find fulfillment in this? I tell you now, the 18-year-old Tom Grennan playing the bars in London, if you'd have let him just watch this for 5 minutes, he'd have said, I'll definitely be fulfilled if I've had #1 albums, #1 singles, played big gigs.
Mm-hmm.
It'll always move. You have to find fulfillment in the now, yeah?
Definitely, but then that, like, again, everybody tells me to enjoy the moment. I'm like, cool, I get it. And when I look back in 20 years' time, I probably will say, I wish I enjoyed that a little bit more. But I can't, like, just did the biggest tour of my life, and I got off stage and I was, what are we doing next? What's happening? Where are we going next? Because I want to do this I want to do this every night. Like, it's hard to enjoy the moment when you know that there's a lot more coming if you really put your mind to it.
So I'm interested in exploring two incidents from your background that maybe help us understand this relentlessness.
Mm-hmm.
One was the one you've referred of being jumped
Yeah.
at 18, which sounds pretty horrific.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a scuffle, that's some serious injuries.
Yeah.
And secondly was around the same time, the death of your mate in the car accident.
My cousin, yeah. Yeah. I got jumped, and that wasn't, like you say, just a little scuffle. It was something that humbled me massively, but also affected me massively, where, like, I couldn't leave my house. Like I said, I've always been that guy I've got energy. I'm always, and I think this is the first time I ever understood what mental health was, what, like, anger really, really was, what revenge really felt like. All these different, like, emotions where, like, I couldn't cope with what was going on in my head.
And what precipitated the attack?
It was random.
Wow.
So that's what I think. Why has it happened to me? Why have they done this to me? that was, like I say, the first time where I was like, I don't know how to be me anymore. You've just completely changed me. And not only that, you changed my family's life too. So I think that also gave me the fire when I could navigate my thoughts and what I wanted to do, of like, I'm gonna really become something bigger and better and more, and being able to say like, thank you very much, mate. You've just absolutely created something that you never thought you never see, mate, because you don't know me, but you've just created something unbelievable. So thank you.
So you flipped it again?
Yeah.
So did the person ever get found?
Yeah.
And do they know it's you?
Yeah, I've had like messages from the other people saying like, yeah, that guy knows.
And how often do you think about that moment? Is it there? Is it present?
Yeah, definitely. Like that was like the beginning of this thing that.
It's so valuable for people to hear that. Like, you're about to walk out on stage in front of, I don't know, 30,000 people or whatever, some arena, some big gig.
Yeah.
And that moment where that person thought they were going to do something to really damage you.
Yeah.
That's the moment where you're that's in your head, and that's built you. And I think nobody wants to go through what you went through.
No.
Abhorrent, horrendous, very difficult for a lot of people. But look what flipping that is able to give you. Because that's happened, right? That person doesn't deserve any more of you than you gave them in that period directly after the attack when you were really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Now look how much you're taking.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's
powerful.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I think you mentioned my cousin who died too in a car crash. That was a big moment in my life too, where I understood life was so short and life could be taken like that. And I made a promise to him and to me that I'm gonna like have everybody knowing who he was and what our name is, and put a footprint in the world, because I don't know, I think he deserves it and I deserve it too. I put so much hard work into it, and I just want that to be felt. But I think seeing him lose his life was crazy, just because he was so young, and just it was like that, gone.
But in the telling of your story, those two events, the way I read them, happened around the same time. So they must have merged into a moment where you're at a vulnerable age of 18 years of age. You're trying to think about that next stage of your career. For anyone listening to this that may be going through similarly troubling or traumatic times, Tom, what advice would you give them about being able to go through the process you did of translating it into something positive, affirming, and being almost like a fuel supply for you to go on and do something significant afterwards?
The advice I'd give somebody who's might be going through something like that would to be, allow them feelings to happen. Allow yourself to really understand them feelings and how to navigate them, I suppose. And just take it in, because it's like these feelings, your body don't know what these are. They're just feelings. It's how your mind copes with whatever's going on. But I think for me, I'd just say, try and navigate them and understand them. I feel like for me, again, exercise is a big thing that's really like helped me understand things too, with whatever's going on in here. But I don't really have much advice because everybody's their own person, and
Sure.
And I think for the way I did it was just, I don't know, fight whatever's going on in there. If you're in a ring with somebody, you're going to fight it.
So when you look back through those notebooks that you said became the source of your early lyrics,
yeah,
when you read them a few years later and they became so valuable for you, what were you reading that really resonated?
I was reading this boy's thoughts. I was reading this guy's like heart and soul putting onto paper and his cries for help. That's what I was reading. But I was also reading this person who was like, nah, I'm gonna be able to come out of the fire like a phoenix, mate. That is it. It sounds like cliche, but that's what it was. And I also knew that these songs here, I'm not going to be the only person who's feeling like this. I'm not going to be the only person who's gone through this. And sometimes like you get so indulged with your own self, you're like, I can't believe like I'm the only person who's going to be like, nah, mate, there's 7 billion people on this. What somebody's got to be going through what I'm going through. So these lyrics and these words on this paper, they're gonna help this other person out. And like all this stuff that's going on in my life, like I was like, I need to be able to communicate that with somebody. And like also not only that, like when I was gigging on and also showing people these songs, that it was a way of me going, you have what I don't want, and you can take my energy because I'm doing that. I'm like sprinkling it off to other people. And these songs, you can do what you want with them, and you can also like make them out with how you want to make them out. So, and if they help, they help. And
what lyric or line or verse did you write that was the most helpful for you?
There's something in the water calling your name. I think that's the first song I ever wrote. And that was really me like looking at myself and going, there's something in this world or this life that you're going to live, and it's shouting at you, and all you need to do is be able to run with it. And if you run with it, then anything's possible.
I think if you were doing this job 30 years ago, right, you know, you've come here with a load of really lovely people from your management or your record label, really nice, and they want the best for you. But I'm pretty sure 30 years ago, they'd be telling you not to talk about any of this, right? Because the world was different.
Yeah.
How important is it now in 2023 that you are able and that you do talk in this way for other people to hear?
So important. 30 years ago, there's probably a lot of stresses in life, obviously, but 2023, I don't know, we live in this weird world. It's important to speak. It's important to talk. And if you can't talk and if you can't speak about it, then do what I did. Write about it, draw about it, be creative with it. And if you can't, then just run it off or run into it and you'll find it.
You know what I love about this conversation is the underlying theme of optimism that comes through. Like, you're a young guy at school and people are laughing at your clothes, yet you're the one going, you wait, you'll be wearing this in a little while.
Yeah.
And then you're a guy who's playing football and your heart's no longer in it. So instead of fearing that, you're optimistic that there's something else out there for you. And then you're banging down doors of pubs and you're believing that something great's going to happen. You know, you're going through the death of a cousin and a brutal attack, and you're turning it into a positive. How important is an optimistic mindset for you? Do you believe great things are going to come?
I believe great things will come if you put everything into that, yeah. So yeah, I do believe. great things will come. I've just got to be the guy who drives the car, and I've got to be the guy who gets to them great things.
Is that ever exhausting?
Yeah, of course. I've gone grey over it. Do you know what I mean? But I think I'll always be like that. I don't think I'll ever not be like that. It's exciting though. That's exciting to me. Like, it'd be so boring if you were just comfortable. Being comfortable is just that is not for me. That makes me go, oh, nah.
Really?
Yeah, man. I like being like a bit like unsure, and just if there's something behind that door, I'll be like, I need to see what's behind that door, man, because it could be amazing.
Another question I wanted to explore with you, Tom, was like, we get people talking to us here about neurodiversity, and and I know that you have dyslexia. I'm interested in exploring why that becomes a super strength for you, rather than something that previously, like Jake saying, 30 years ago might have either not been understood or seen as a weakness. What do you think your dyslexia has afforded you?
It's not held me back. I think it held me back in school, but I think it held me back because, again, in school I was told that I wasn't going to get like B's and C's. I was going to get D's and F's or whatever. And I got my B's and C's because I knew I could do it. But my dyslexia helped me out so much because I've been able to like put words together, or like put songs together that some people read and be like, what is this? But they make sense to me, and they also make sense to a lot of other people. I've not ever read a book in my life really, apart from Horrid Henry and Elton John's book. But like, a lot of people say like articulation comes from like reading and being able to like know big words, and nah, man, I just understand my words, and that's how I talk and how I write, and a lot of people understand it too.
So what is your process? Is it a quiet room, a blank piece of paper, a holiday? What's the...
Nah, the process is I need time to take in. Like, I hate working in the morning. Like, people are going to me like, do you want to come in the studio at like midday? I'm like, but you have not experienced anything in the day. How are you gonna like take in stories that you might have heard today? I like working at night where I've eaten different things from different places, and I like writing with a nice amount of people in a room. I like noise. I like energy in a room. I like being able to. I do set times on it though. Like I do like say, right, I've got 4 or 5 months where I need to write an album. Yeah, that is the 5 months, and I ain't going home until it's written. I think giving myself that pressure really helps me. I'm not that guy who can just write, like some people just on tour writing, just every day writing. Nah, that doesn't work for me. I need to have a blocked out schedule where I go, right, this is where this album's going to be written, and my writing brain needs to be flicked on, and that works for me. It does. But with the dyslexia thing, going back to that, like I have this like washing line that I've always put out. If I'm writing a song, then I draw that line, and I hang up these words, and I say to myself, right, this word can fit with that word, and that word doesn't really fit with that word, but I can make that word fit with that word if you put it in a good wash. Do you know what I mean?
I love that, but it makes it like, I'll tell you a really random story. I heard you on a radio show recently where they gave you a travel report to read.
Yeah.
Right? And
That was so hard.
yeah, and I heard you, and you were making like lots of errors. But what really stood out to me as I heard you reading it was just how open you were to failure, if that makes sense. So they'd correct you and say, no, you don't say it like that, or you'd say so, and you weren't precious about it. You just interpret it and then say it right next time, and then you do it again, and you'd stumble, you'd fall, you'd be corrected.
Yeah.
So when you describe this washing line theory of creating, tell us a little bit about your relationship with failure and being corrected, so you go into that loop of every improvement.
I like a bit of failure. I like not being good at things. I like being able to really improve. I'm playing a lot of golf at the moment, and that is a game where I've gone, I'm shit at it, but I'm going to be amazing at it. And I think that's just like with life. I feel like if somebody says, nah, that's not how you do it, and I'll be like, all right, cool, you show me how to do it then, and then let's see if it works. And then if it works, then I'm like, yeah, cool. Scales that I've never been, or whatever they're called, do you know what I mean? Going to like notes where I thought my voice couldn't go, and I'm like, I've just unlocked another thing.
But how does that fit? Because like when you described about you first decided to pursue a career in music, and you went, I'm not going to study it formally because that'll turn me off. Yeah. So what you're describing is like real life experimentation and learning on the job. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like that's the way I've always been able to learn. Like the voice thing I've just said, like I learned that during a show. So I was like, whoa, what is that just happened? If you think that you've completed something, you're fucked.
And has your relationship with failure changed as you've become successful? Because I think people, when there's nothing to lose, failure's fine, risk is fine, pushing yourself is fine because there is nothing to lose. You've now got to a point where there is something to lose because you've got a great career. You know, I was watching the Lewis Capaldi documentary a few days ago, and he was saying, the more success I get, the more self-doubt I have to deal with. Mm-hmm. That's a very confusing paradox for a lot of people, I think. So do you not find that, like, as you get more successful, the fear is greater?
Yeah, there's massive pressure. You've got to be able to put out something that's bigger than your last, or you've got to be able to pay back your
massive advance.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And you're seeing other success as well, because I guess you're now comparing yourself with, like, who do you look at, like, and go,
I'm not telling you.
But you do.
Like, of course. But as well, I'm like, I also say I'm on my own journey, and I need to always remember that this is my own journey. And I don't think it is jealousy. Like, some people are like, why are you jealous of him? Or why are you jealous of her? No, I'm not jealous. I'm actually like, I love seeing it. I love other people.
Because it's available.
Yeah. I love seeing that because it drives me more.
And why would you not say who they are? That those, because we all have them, people that make you go, oh.
Because I don't know. They're I don't know why. I don't know why. I think for me, that's for me. I'll let you know if I ever beat them.
But then take us back. So
I love that.
So that response there, I'm intrigued as to the difference between that response there and the response of 15-year-old you in the dressing room when some kids from a new academy are coming in.
Yeah.
What's the difference now between, so back then you said to us you were thinking, I'm not good enough, they're miles better than me.
Yeah.
What's the difference now between you looking at whoever it is that is in your game now?
Because they're not better than me. These people are not better than me.
That's what you've learned to say.
Yeah. And again, that really sounds like, if you're listening, be like, oh, you sound a bit like a dickhead now, Tom. I'm not being a dickhead. I really believe that these people aren't better than me. They might be, but in myself, I'm saying that these people aren't better than me, because as soon as I say that these people are better than me, I'm failing.
You're giving up.
I've given up, 100%. I'm not saying that these people are better than me because, like, I want them to fail. I'm saying it because I don't want myself to go, now these lot are better than me, I can't get to that next level.
Yeah.
I think it's really powerful because it makes it available to you. If you are saying that I'm as good as them or better than them, and they've got that I want, well, then I can go and have it because I'm at that level of ability.
Yeah.
I think as soon as, life is already going to kick you in the balls and slap you across the face, and you've seen a million times over, all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are your fault, but all of them are your responsibility, in truth, to deal with it. And it's the same as this. It's not your fault that there's X or Y selling millions of albums.
Yeah.
But it's your responsibility to go and beat those sales if that's the thing that drives you on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exciting though, isn't it?
It's exciting. That is like a good feeling. That gives me like, I can't wait to go to studio today. So I'm gonna really make something cool.
And do you like conversations like this?
Yeah, I love it. Love it. I feel like these conversations here, like, I always do feel a bit like I find it hard to give advice because I'm just a normal kid from Bedford. Like, why are people listening to my advice? Do you know what I mean? But I think it's cool that people are wanting to listen to my advice. But I find it hard to give advice because I know what I'm doing inside me, and I know and also, like, sometimes these conversations can be, some people be like, mate, you sound like you are, I know, but that's the world we live in. But again, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I
sit here feeling really excited for you because I don't think we've had anyone on here with a mental strength that feels as bulletproof or as, like, solid and as real as yours. And I know in some ways that might be weird because then you start thinking to yourself, well, I'm not sure I am. I don't know whether you do when I say you go, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
You agree with it. Like, the flipping of things, the belief, the optimism, the desire. I just think it's so inspiring. I mean, I remember as a kid, and this sounds weird, being in a nightclub, right? And I had just started on telly, before kids telly, before Formula One, before anything. And no one knew who I was because I was on, like, local TV. And I remember going into the toilets in the nightclub, right? And I was really disciplined at that age and didn't drink or anything. I remember banging all these numbers on my phone, like random numbers, because I was so wound up that I didn't have a good TV career at that time. And then I used to redial that number every week whenever I felt like the sort of desire in me was starting to melt away a bit, and remind myself how it felt in that moment. That real deep desire. And I think you have it. I think you have it probably more now than you ever have. I can sort of see that.
Definitely. I feel like, for me, I just need to carry on with what I'm doing and not be distracted by other things as well, like people.
Have you had to make decisions in life to avoid that?
Definitely. I've had to, like...
What have you done?
I've had to distance myself from a lot of people. I've had to understand that my relationship with alcohol, like, I need to stay away from that stuff.
I'm amazed, though, that someone with your mental strength even went there in the first place.
Yeah, I think I wanted to please a lot of people. I think I was easily led. I thought it was the cool thing to do. I also thought, like, it gave me it made me think even more the way I'm thinking, but completely differently. I became like the biggest egotistical twat ever, and I didn't realise that.
And was there an incident that gave you that moment of recognition? Because you're self-aware enough to recognise in football, I can't get to that next level. Was there a similar moment when you thought,
I've got a problem here?
Yeah.
Probably when my mum came and was like, you need to come home. I was just in London around the wrong people. I was hiding the fact, like, I'd be going to, like, different things, and I was hiding. I was very good at, like, just acting like everything's fine. I think understanding that I am not, my mind and my soul is better when I'm sober, or when I feel good. Alcohol, I've not had a problem with alcohol. Like my relationship with alcohol is I can have an easy drink now. When I say easy drink, I mean like a responsible drink with, like, if I'm in a nice environment with people that I trust, and then that's fine. And exercise, like I said earlier, like CrossFit and different exercises have completely changed the way I think mentally. I like physically, like cool. I don't do it for physical like appearance. I don't do it for appearance.
Are you sure? I've seen your Instagram.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some good topless shots on
don't
there
get me
now.
wrong, like, it looks sweet.
Yeah.
But no.
It does feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah, but like, I do it for my mental, because the CrossFit thing, like, you are in this workout and you are fighting for your life in this CrossFit, but you know that if you get to the end, positive things are going to happen, and the positive things that are going to happen at the end of the workout is that you're going to feel great. So I take that into my work, and it changes my work completely. Like, people in my team, like with label, with management, with my back, if I haven't done my routine and daily workout and all that kind of stuff, they know. They're like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right, but I've got energy in me that needs to come out."
Well, then tell us about the inner circle now then. So you've obviously learned, you've flown close to the sun, you've been burnt a little bit, you've had that moment where your mum's called you home.
Yeah.
What are the questions or the criteria that you set now for anybody to get into your inner circle that you know is going to add value as opposed to take from you?
I don't really know. Like, at the moment,
Is it hard to trust people?
no, because I trust easily. But I've got people that are around me that will go, "See ya." Again, I should probably do it myself, but I'm a not, like, my heart. My missus says to me, "You're too nice. You're too, like, too willing. You're too, like." I'm
A people pleaser.
Yeah, I'm a people pleaser, and it goes back to the attention thing. Like, I love that. I love when somebody's happy and I can make some. I'm like, "Oh, wicked." Yeah.
We've almost reached the end of our interview where we do our quick fire questions.
Yeah.
Before we get there,
Cool.
I just would love to know from you what you think the future looks like, considering this is a conversation where you're a guy with real optimism, and you don't have to be humble at this point. Like,
Cool.
if you close your eyes and think 5 years' time,
5 years, yeah.
what would the dream be?
In 5 years' time, I'm going to give you a year, because
Just do it.
5 years long.
Let's go for a year.
A year, #1 album, a #1 single, and loads more gigs and success in life. Not just gigging, just being able to say, like, I'm happy, my family are happy, and I'm just still on a path of being able to get to the next point.
Brilliant. I'm so pleased you went there, like, rather than doing all the outside stuff, you went inside, the happiness. I remember Johnny Wilkinson saying the most important thing in life you can do is explore, and I sort of get the sense that that's really what life is about for you. Like, just explore. Like,
Definitely.
imagine
Open up
what could
doors,
happen.
man. Open up doors and just jumping into more cold water. I love that stuff.
Yeah, you're a cold water advocate, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Right, here we go then. Your 3 non-negotiable behaviours that people around you really should be buying into.
As in myself or other people?
You and those around you. Like, what do you want people to bring to the table? What's important to you?
Politeness, kindness, and drive and aspiration and stuff like that.
Bit of ambition.
Ambition, that's the one. Yeah.
What's your biggest strength and your greatest weakness?
My biggest strength would probably be I'm a people pleaser. I think that's a strength, but it also is my biggest weakness. Definitely.
What advice would you give to a teenage Tom just starting out?
The advice I'd give to myself would just be like, keep doing what you're doing and enjoy the moments, because they're going to be some great moments. But I still need to give myself that advice to enjoy the moments. But yeah, I'd say that. Just enjoy the moments and keep doing what you're doing.
And the final question, your sort of final message really for people that have listened to this really fascinating conversation. After all the things you've been through, the things you've learned, what would you say is your one golden rule for living a high-performance life?
The golden rule is to enjoy it, but also don't be afraid to not be able to swim, because being uncomfortable is a good thing. So living a high performance life, if you're uncomfortable in them situations, then you're doing something good. Definitely.
Brilliant.
Mate, seeking discomfort, you've just summed up high performance perfectly for us. I think, thank you for like being so honest.
Thank you.
About the things you've been through, the things you've learned. But I think the really big takeaway for people listening to this who might be struggling themselves is this ability to flip the negative into the positive. Because I think the greatest thing about that is whatever your future holds, whatever happens even tomorrow, if you can flip, then you can keep hold of your optimism. And what are we if we're not optimistic, eh?
Yep. Definitely. Flip that thought.